All right, well, welcome to our kicking off new loan officers in Win by Noon for 2019. Now, I see the list of people, and I see some people who are returning users as well as some new users. A couple of housekeeping issues that we will get rolling. I've got this webinar scheduled for 60 minutes, although my calendar has 90 minutes blocked off, so if we've got some Q&A and it runs over, I will be happy to stay on and answer that. I've got a real estate agent kickoff in 90 minutes. So we will be jumping straight from this one onto that one. And if we get done early, we get done early. I just wanted you guys to know I got plenty of time to do that. I'm also recording this, as I said, so that way, if you want to go back and rewatch any of it, you'll have access to it. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to put that out there yet, but I will make sure that afterwards, since I know who was here, I'll be able to send you guys either a link to it through our website or through Dropbox, but I'll get it posted out there because I have all the time people saying I'm brand new. How am I going to get launched with Win by Noon? And I want them to have this as a resource as well. The chat feature is live and ready to rock and roll. So if you have burning questions, feel free to put it in there. My goal is going to be to get through all of what I think you need to get launched with Win by Noon in 2019. As I mentioned, some of you are actually returning users, so I love the fact that you're here for a refresher. That is super cool. And then I'll also, kind of as we get towards the end, sort of walk you through, get some of the other, let's just call them offerings of Win by Noon as well, because ultimately in the end, I want to make sure I got everyone dialed in on what's going on with the app and some of the other programs that many of you have participated in the past and or are asking about now. So there's a couple of ways I can do this, and I'll tell you the way that I'm going to choose to do it. I can throw up a boring PowerPoint and walk you guys through that. I can just stand here in front of you and talk to you, which may drive some people crazy as well. And that's actually what I'm going to do. But I am going to kind of run through the format of what I would normally do if I was showing you a PowerPoint. But I tend to find that since you all have your planner, right? So you should have your planner hopefully in front of you. And I'll walk us through some pieces of the planner. And that way you don't actually have to watch me, because I'm going to actually just show you where in the planner to look. And what I'll tell you is that, I probably I didn't count it up yet, but I mean, let's just call it close to 100 Win by Noon presentations last year, if not more, when you take in all the one-on-one conversations I had with many of you. And there's no perfect way to teach it, because everyone sort of has a different piece that is super important to them, a different area that they're struggling in. Here's where I want to start. Let's just start with what is Win by Noon and sort of what I think are the decisions that you can make today to have 2019 be a great year. Win by Noon is literally just a day planner. You guys all know that about it, right? It's a day planner, and what I'm finding is that the people are using it literally just to plan their day. Nothing more, none of the other features are actually becoming more organized and growing their business. And I've got that now after having over 2,500 current users of the product. The second thing is it's a business planning tool, right? That's the most important piece of it. And the people who are using it as a day planner and a business planning tool to actually plan and review their numbers, plan and review their activities, plan and review their results, and then also look at the conversion rates are actually growing more. And then lastly, it's this philosophy, right? It's that name, right? You guys see it here, Win by Noon. And I would tell you that for me personally, the accidental decision I made to block my mornings off every morning and not allow anything else to get in the way of those important activities and results I was after is when my business went up almost 45% in 1 year. And I grew kind of out of a great number to an amazing number, grew from over 400 units to over 550 units in a single year. Relationships were the same. Market was the same. The only difference was I made sure I did the activities that I was supposed to do every day. And so therefore my conversion rates went up. And when your conversion rates go up, you close more business. And so that whole idea of actually planning those priorities first and foremost. And so I'll kind of walk you guys through the piece that I'm really most passionate about this year, which is the ideal week. And then I'll walk you through a day and then sort of the global quarterly planning and the projects piece. So hopefully that sounds fair. As I mentioned, the chat feature is somewhere down below on your thing. I can see it. I got it up here on my screen. So if you have questions as I go, stop me. I do talk really fast, and I'm going to intentionally try to talk a little slower. And I'll also kind of walk you guys through again as we go some of the free resources that are available to make sure that you guys are, really dialed in on everything else that Win by Noon has to offer. Now, I would tell you that I told you just a minute ago, it's a decision that you guys need to make, right? The market, there's no one I've talked to who thinks the market's going to be easy this year, right? If that's you, raise your hand, tell me here that you think it's going to be an easy market. I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a hard market, right? Some of you are coming out of markets that had no inventory, and now you're going into a higher interest rate market where there's starting to become inventory, or maybe even still no inventory. I mean, there's just these headwinds that we have. And then that's on one side over here, the headwinds. And then on this side over here, you've got noise and static, right? All the online stuff going on, right? You've got Zillow and Redfin and all these new people in the mortgage business. Then on the real estate side, you've got Zillow in the real estate business and these iBuyer companies like Open Door that are coming in and they're buying property and keeping them from your realtors. And then, they just change the dynamics of the market. And so you've got to choose really how you want to show up, how you want to conquer, let's call it 2019, because ultimately in the end, if you don't make a choice to do things differently, you're going to end up in the same place that you were last year. I never try to be a jerk, but I feel like it when I start off this way, but I'm just telling you how passionate I am about 2019. I feel like 2019 is going to be a year where the people who really put their head down are going to grow. The people who are doing things differently than you did last year are going to take ground from those who most likely will be either starving or close to getting out of the business by the end of the year, maybe will have already left. And so I think that choice is to decide what are the activities I'm committed to and when am I going to do it. And so let's just jump right into what I'm going to call the ideal week. Now, there's no special thing to it other than what you're going to do is you're going to look at literally just a plain week, right? So the reason I'm so passionate about this is that there's a couple people on the call who were part of my 90-day programs that I did at the tail end of last year. I had 2 different groups, 58 people total in them, although 10 of them were in both. So it was really 48 different people. And about halfway through, I realized that the people who understood and grasped this concept of ideal week were the ones who grew. And the people who were struggling, right? I don't want to say that they were making excuses because some of them were just struggling. They had other things going on, urgent things that weren't important that got in the way. Let me rephrase that. Important things that weren't urgent that got in the way. And they struggled and they ended up with momentum. 100% of the people that went through the course said they had momentum, but there was a significant difference, right? When someone who's only doing 1 loan a month or half a loan a month goes to 5 or 6 loans a month, back-to-back months, there's something different that they've made a choice to do. And that the decision that they made was to own their ideal week. And I would tell you this, if you talk to any of them, they would tell you, well, I wasn't perfect at it, right? They weren't perfect at all, but they said that these are the activities I'm committed to. They planted their flag, which is kind of the term I keep using. And by planting their flag and saying, gosh, I'm going to get those activities done. I may not get them done before noon. In fact, I may not get them done today, but I'm going to get them done this week. The number of times I said I was going to, it really shifted everything. So for me, when I'm looking at my own ideal week, if you look at my week, like this is my week for this week, and I just blocked it out so I can see exactly what I've got going on. I don't have a whole lot of white space in there. I just did on New Year's Day. You can see I was celebrating that off, but my days this week are jam-packed. But when you have this visual piece, and again, not everyone's a visual person. I'm visual, so that's why I like it. But the thing that connected the dots for me, and the reason that I'm so passionate is when I did a survey about a little over a year ago, this page was the least used page in the planner. This just planning your week, looking at your week ahead. And the irony is that I just told you it's the number one thing that's actually gotten people results. So here's the statistic that I don't want you guys to be part of, okay? So the statistic I don't want you guys to be part of is that 94% of loan officers wake up with no business plan for their day. So think about that for a second. Is that you? Maybe, maybe not, right? I know some of you, so I know for some of you it's not. And as a result, 91% of loan officers have inconsistent month-over-month business, right? I've been there, right? I had inconsistent business because I wasn't focused on the activities, right? I would hop in my car, I'd be driving to work, I'd be in charge, right, of my day, and then I would get a call from a realtor, from a client, from my processor, from a title company with something urgent to them. It was just important at the moment. And then all of a sudden, instead of me driving, I was in the back seat and they were taking me on a different ride. And so instead of coming in and jumping right in on calling my leads and doing the most important things, all of a sudden I was chasing a pay stub that I didn't need for a week, or I could have gotten this afternoon, but I was chasing it this morning. And then I really never got to those other things, because once you get going and once you're in your email, once you're returning phone calls and doing all those other things, you just never get back to anything else. And I've just seen that over and over again. And And so in order to do that, you've got to decide what does your week look like. And so those of you who've heard me talk before, I divide up my activities two ways, right? What are the required daily disciplines of a loan officer? And I would tell you that there are two things. Number one is you're required to call your leads who have been converted. And yes, you should have a plan for that, but I'm not going to go over the plan for it today. I'll just tell you that research shows that if you call 6 times, then you're 90 to 94% likely to reach a lead. And most research shows that most people in sales, not just you or me, most people in sales call less than 2 or 3 times, typically 1. And actually Salesforce.com's research says 47% of leads never get called. That's ridiculous. I know that's not you guys though. And so number one is you got to be calling your leads. You have to have some schedule for it. For me, it was a 7 calls over 2 week schedule. And whatever that schedule is, great. But if you don't have time that's allotted every day for it, then you're not likely to actually make all those consistent calls. And I think because I already told you there's a lot of noise and a lot of static out there, it can't roll till tomorrow, right? If you get a lead today and you don't call it today, by tomorrow, they're going to have found somebody else, right? They've already got their name in with another realtor online, right? Not just your realtor, but another realtor. They've already gone on to some other website and given their information. You've got to be on that person and you've got to have a system to call them. Second thing is you've got to be calling your clients who have applied but aren't pre-approved yet. Because we've all had that happen where, yeah, we got the application, but I still need their pay stubs to see if I can use their overtime or not, or I need their tax return to see if I can use any of that commission income. And you've got to follow up on that, because in the old days, we thought people wanted to have houses bad enough that they would send us the information. But when they do talk to that other lender, she or he may not tell them that they need that today to go out shopping for a house. And we know that that's not the best way to do business. And you haven't given the pre-approval letter because your agents are expecting you to make sure that they actually qualify. You don't want to have someone shopping for a $300,000 house if they only qualify for a $200,000 house. And I see over and over again that the biggest area for a lot of loan officers to improve is just to get people over that line. So you've got to schedule that time first every day, 5 days a week, right? You need to be doing that. Actually, loan officers who are worried about this year who are doing it Saturdays too. Now, I'm not here to tell you to do that. I'm just letting you know that's what I'm seeing out there. And then the second thing is you've got to have these target day commitments. And I used to call them a target day activity, but I've changed the word to commitment now, because you've got to commit that these are the days I'm going to do things. And I'll tell you why I think it's really important in 2019. And again, it's not original thought. And you've heard me talk about it before if you've seen me talk. And you've heard other people in the industry talk about it as well. In fact, you may be doing some of these things now. But my question for you is it a commitment, and are you doing it consistently? Because oftentimes what I'm finding is that people know they need to do these things and they don't do them consistently. So that's one of my words. So you've heard me use, I've used commitment, decision, and I've used the word consistency now, right? Like I've got all these buzzwords of the year. But what I find is when someone says, I make update calls, right? So Tuesday for me was update call day, right? And you guys have all heard something like that before. Everyone's like, well, why did you pick Tuesday, Todd? I didn't. My wife did. I picked Monday. My wife said, no, that's not good for our team. It needs to be on Tuesdays, because Tuesdays is the day that we can get our system updated so that we can put out accurate information. And I have people go, I do that too. I'm like, awesome. How consistent are you? And then they drop their eyes because they don't want to make eye contact with me because they're not doing it consistently. And so again, you got to slot that time in there. I tell the story over and over. For a decade, I went to a RE/MAX office the first Tuesday of every month. I showed up for their meeting. So on the way there, I was making my update calls. And then on the way home, I was typically reacting to other things that had happened while I was at that meeting. I might have met with a realtor after the meeting. I might have gone to lunch with someone after the meeting. All of a sudden, I'm zooming back to the office and I have to react. So when did I get my update calls done? I got it done in the carpool line when I was picking up my daughter. And it wasn't great, but I got it done most of the time. I wasn't as good at that as I was at everything else. And so what I would tell you is that for me today, when I teach it, and actually the way that I got when I was really, I don't know what the right word is, when I was a pro at this, is if I wasn't going to be there on Tuesday, then guess what? Either I had someone else do them who was going to be there, or I did them on Monday, right? I made sure that was a commitment. And I find that when I talk to realtors in the marketplace, they say, oh yeah, my loan officer starts off that way and then they fade off, or they do it, 2 out of 4 weeks. But if you're not doing it consistently, it's typically because you don't have a day. Some people do them towards the end of the week because they think people need it going in the weekend. But what I find is a lot of loan officers, if they're going to take a day off, it's going to be a Friday. In fact, sometimes it's a Monday too, because of the holidays that we have and how the holiday schedule works. So Tuesday, update call day, buyer's agent, listing agent, clients, plural, right? Could be a a couples situation or some co-borrowers. And then, of course, transaction coordinators, right? And again, I'm not going to bore you with details on it today, but you also should be launching that with a defined contract launch process. Wednesdays is talk to your pre-approved clients day, right? You got to protect your pipeline, because what happens is that loan officers tell me currently that once they pre-approve a client, they're still out there shopping online because they have an internet addiction. So they're on the internet, they're looking at other houses because they don't think that their realtor's sending them everything. It's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, they hit that Ask the Listing Agent a button on that website, and all of a sudden that listing agent has sucked them in, because even though that house was sold 2 years ago or 2 months ago or was never for sale, they now have them in their grasp. They're telling them that they've got off-market inventory and that off-market inventory is special to them. And guess what that realtor has? Well, they don't have that inventory potentially. Maybe they do, but they have a lender, and that lender's not you. And so now all of a sudden you're competing for your own pre-approved clients. So you've got to be talking to them every week, because oftentimes our realtors aren't. Thursday, realtor update day. Now, when it comes to updating your realtors, why did I pick Thursday? I picked it as a consistent day to be updating my best realtors on what was going on in life. On Wednesday, I'm calling my clients who are buying within 30 days every week. If they're buying within 60 days, every other week. And if they're buying out more than 60 days, I'm going to call them every 3 to 4 weeks. But I'm going to call them every month, right? I live here in Phoenix, Arizona, and we've got spring training, and we've got a golf tournament, and we've got an auto auction. People come in, and then they might not buy a house for a year, but I kept in touch with them. My realtors didn't, and that resulted in those return customers, because I'd gone after them, I'd gotten the application, I'd gotten them pre-qualified. They just didn't find a house in their short visit here. Thursdays, same thing. I'm going to call my best agents every week. I'm going to call my second-tier agents every other week, and I'm going to call every other agent every 3 to 4 weeks. Even the agent who sent me, one deal every quarter, I got a call from me once a month, because if you don't follow up with them, they won't follow up with you. And what I find is that loan officers tell me they do this, but they don't really do it. I mean, they're just not doing it consistently. And so when you stake up a flag in the ground and say, Tuesday's my day, I do my update calls, it's a unique value proposition, right? You're doing something and you're doing it consistently. 100% of loan officers think it's a good idea, but less than 10% of loan officers do it, right? Wednesdays, we're going to call our pre-approved clients. Thursdays, we're going to actually call our realtors. Now, why did I pick Thursday? I picked Thursday for a couple of reasons. Number one is I could tell them what I talked to their clients about on Wednesday. Number two is I could also protect my weekend, right? Again, I'm trying to protect my weekend. So Wednesday's pipeline protection day. Thursday is weekend protection day. So what I'm doing on that weekend is on that Thursdays, I'm calling my realtors, say, hey, what are you doing this weekend? And if they were doing an open house, I could help them with flyers. If you stop by open houses, then you would know who to stop by and visit. I would ask them if they said they're taking out a client on to look for property, right? Hopefully I would have known that from Wednesday, but oftentimes I found they were taking out a client who I didn't know they were taking out. In fact, I hadn't even pre-approved that client. So instead of having to do a 5 o'clock on a Friday night pre-qual or a Saturday or Sunday pre-qual while I was walking in the movies or sitting down to dinner, I protected my weekend because I had the rest of the day on Thursday and Friday to track down that client who they already knew about, but they had just forgotten to give to me. Or maybe they were just going to take the weekend off, right? And so what this did is it prepped me for a couple of things. Number one is it helped me get them ready for the weekend and myself ready for the weekend. Number two is that it also set up my next week's follow-up with them. So if they told me that they were taking out a client this weekend or had an open house, then I was going to write them in my planner. All right, so here's where we're going to shift gears to, I'm going to shift gears to my daily calendar, right? So on a Monday, if I knew that, Jane Doe, the realtor, was taking out my client, I'd be putting her on my call list where I'd be calling her on Monday if I didn't hear from them over the weekend to see how did that go, right? So I would be on Mondays, I haven't talked about Monday yet, intentionally. But I would be calling that person on Monday. It would be on my to-do list. I'm just going to throw it into Planner. So when I get there, oh, look, there's my next call. No different than I did over New Year's as I was thinking about things and people I wanted to reach out today. I just wrote it on my to-do list for today. So that way I was prepared. And so that's just kind of one of those things where, again, people aren't doing it consistently. And then they're wondering why they're not getting the leads. I talk to realtors all the time. And if you are, when you're doing this on a day and you stake that flag, I just know you'll have different results than if you do it randomly, right? Even the people who do update calls, I still would call someone when the appraisal came in, just because that's what they expected, but I still make sure I did my Tuesday update calls. Fridays for me was annual mortgage review day. So again, remember, all days we're making those, those required daily disciplines, right? We're making the lead calls. We're making the pre-approval calls to people who had applied but hadn't been pre-approved. And then on Fridays, I was doing my annual mortgage reviews. Huge fan of that. And then Friday is also type any loose ends, right? I'm trying to continue that theme of protecting my weekend. It's like, okay, who canceled a meeting this week that I want to reschedule for next week? Who didn't I get a hold of that I know is going out this weekend? I still need something from him or her in order for them to go out this weekend, with style. What are those loose ends I can do? And then just look at my week and set up my next week. I'm a big believer that most people don't spend time on review. And so I think that is really a challenge. So a couple of other things. Someone's saying, well, what if I don't have leads from agents? On Thursday, again, I'm not calling agents just to have leads with. I'm calling my best agents every week to check in and see how they're doing. I'm calling them to, set up a meeting with them. I'm a face-to-face person. You guys will know that about me as you get to know me over time if you're new. And so from a scripting perspective, I would tell you this, right? You have 9 holidays a year that you're gifted, like 9 months a year where there's holidays. So again, depending on how often you're calling them, right now, I would be calling my people this week and I would be checking to see how their New Year's was, right? Because I would have called 100% of my clients, my realtors last month and before New Year's, and I would have made notes in my CRM that, oh gosh, you know what? Jim was going to go to Telluride and go skiing with his family. And then I would be able to call Jim and say, hey, Jim, Happy New Year. How was your ski trip to Telluride? Right? So you've got all of those opportunities to check in with people. The boring stuff is you can talk about rates. The boring stuff is you can talk about loan programs, because at times there's interesting things that happen that you want to tell them about. And, 75 of their loan officer friends posted about the new loan limits. 75% of them, talked about the fact that rates got a little bit lower after the Fed caused all that confusion and everything going on. And great, now you can actually explain to them what they learned on Facebook. So there's that opportunity. If you do have clients with them, then you can talk to them about their clients. You can talk about business planning this time of year, right? You could just say, hey, just checking in. How are you doing, right? Again, if you build relationship, that's one of my other big words, relationship. If you built relationship with them, then you have something that in common and connections that you can make. What I find is when we have call reluctance, it's typically because we don't know them well enough. We haven't asked them enough questions, and we typically call because we feel like we have to tell them something, but you don't have to tell them anything. You can ask them a question and then engage in a conversation and see where that goes. Can you do those calls as a text instead? Yeah, I've got case studies of good results of clients who've done a call and then a text, a call and then a video text, but you always have to have a call in there. It can't be all text. It can't be all phone calls. It doesn't have to be. I was a phone call guy. I'm doing a lot of video texting right now. If they're iPhone users, I'm doing a lot of the audio text that an iPhone will send, because people see your face, people hear your voice. And so I find that that's also pretty effective as an alternate piece. Someone's asked about annual mortgage reviews. I would tell you, again, I'm not going to go into a ton of detail on it, but ultimately that's where at minimum time of once a year, you're reaching out to your clients proactively and you're letting them know how their mortgage is doing compared to the market, right? And so you're like, well, all my clients are 3.5%. Awesome, right? Hey, congratulations on getting a mortgage at 3.5% when rates now are in the high 4s to low 5s. Like, you're great. How's everything going with you and your family? Again, if you built a relationship with them and you know about their kids or their spouse or their significant other, whatever that looks like, you can have a conversation. What we're finding right now is that in a rising rate market, you're not going to get a lot of refis unless they've got debt consolidation that they need to do, or they want to do a renovation, which we're seeing a fair amount of. I got clients who are still getting about 5% of their database refinanced, even in this market, even though they had lower rates because they have some other need, college, all those kinds of things. That's how you get referrals from, right? That's how they think of you as their loan officer for life. The other part of it is it's also part of the scripting piece up front, a unique value proposition. If I can tell a client up front when they talk to 5 lenders online, well, have you ever wondered what happens when the Fed talks like they did last week about interest rates if you had an opportunity to save money with a refinance? And then I pause, right? And they say yes. And then I say, awesome. Well, my clients don't have to worry about that because I proactively do an annual mortgage review at least once a year with my clients. Additionally, every time there's a program change or an interest rate change or something that will impact you potentially saving money, I'm always going to be looking at your loan in between your mortgage reviews as well. Does that sound like a value to you? And then 99 clients out of 100 will say yes. And so I've got lots of free content out there in annual mortgage reviews. So take a look at that. Afterwards, you guys can all you guys can all reach out. Now, I intentionally left Monday for last. It's funny, I've been teaching it first, but then it's kind of confusing to people. Monday is the best way to launch your week. So Monday is where you're going to total up all your numbers, right? So again, flip to the page before the ideal week, and that's going to be your weekly review, week ahead action plan. And again, what we're going to be doing is you're just going to be doing these, some of the ratings of yourself. How did you do this week? But that's where you're going to add up all your weekly totals on stuff. And then we'll talk about your big 3 projects in a second. And then you're going to set your target goals for the coming week. Now, it's that whole idea of if you aren't looking where you're going, you're going to get in an accident, but you also need to look in your rearview mirror to see how you're doing. Is what I'm doing, are those activities actually getting the results I want? Again, not anything earth-shattering, but one of the things that my building referral relationships group did was they sent out books as a gift to their potential target realtors that they were trying to work with. And then they followed up with a phone call. And the weird thing is when they followed up with a phone call, they actually got appointments. The average was 20% of it. So if they sent out 5 books, they would get 2, or 40%. If they sent out 5 books, they would get 2 appointments, which is pretty good, right? If you think about it. And again, people are like, well, how do I get an appointment? That's just one example. And we had other things that we did in that program that were successful, and people did different things depending on what seemed good to them, right? What was it they enjoyed doing? And if you don't review those numbers, though, how do you know if that worked, right? Like, how do you know if it's effective or not? And then if you also don't know, well, okay, I got 6 realtors and I closed 3 deals last month. Okay, I really want to close 6 deals. Okay, so I probably need to double my realtors to double my deals. I mean, if you're not looking at these things and really going at it from a numbers approach, then it's hard to determine what's next. Now, of course, you could say, well, gosh, you know what? I had 1 realtor and they sent me 2 of those deals, but I have 6 overall. Well, that's fine. Again, we're looking for the law of averages here. We're not looking to, it's never going to be an exact science, especially in a shifting market like we're in. And so the reason I used to start right in the front of the book at that part that says, hey, what is your annual goal and what is your quarterly goal? And it freaked people out, right? They're like, I have no idea. So now I start with, what is it we need to do in a day? What is it we need to do in a week? And then how do we review that? And then once we've started tracking, then we can set our numbers for next week. So those of you who got the planner and were like, holy smokes, on page 4, Todd is asking me to tell you how many phone calls I'm going to make this week. Well, if you've never tracked before, skip that because you have no idea, right? But start tracking your phone calls today, right? If you're like, I made some calls this morning, right? You can pull out your phone, right? You can look and see how many people called you and how many people you called to. Oh, okay, how many people did I talk to? So I'll walk through a second how all those things are defined. But track for a week, then you can set your target for next week. So again, that's what Mondays are about. It's setting aside time first thing before you get distracted by everything else. So you're going to make your lead calls. You're going to follow up on your applicants who haven't gotten a pre-qual issued, but you're also going to, on Mondays, just review your numbers, right? Look at your week and then set your intentions for this week. It's that whole planning piece. Like, okay, let me look at my week. Oh my gosh, you know what? I've got a field trip on Thursday. That's my realtor call day. Well, great. It's not optional, right? It's like, you just have to reslot it somewhere. So if I'm going to be on a field trip on Thursday, because that was important to me. I was the dad on all the field trips. Then my update calls to my agents, or my checks with my agents had to be on Wednesday. I had to block time for it. So I would move that block to Wednesday. It's not optional. I think that's the challenge, is a lot of loan officers aren't committed to that and they make it optional. And so you've got to look at your week and see what's there. Again, loose ends. What loose ends didn't get closed on Friday? Who else do I have to call who was at an open house? See if they have any leads for me. What other clients do I know who were out that looking at houses that I didn't hear to see how they did? Was there a client who told me they were going to get me their documentation over the weekend and didn't, and I need to follow back up with her or him? These are the things that you've got to do to launch your week. And that's why there's no other real big commitments in there, because I found that when I launched my week correctly, then I had more mind like water. I was really more able to get everything done. I was able to clear my email from the weekend. If I was fortunate enough to have a contract or 2 come in, I could get those launched with my team. Just think about your Mondays and how you're overdone. Now, what you'll notice is I didn't say the first thing I did was check my email and get started, right? I got really good at ignoring my email. I used to, when I started this, just full disclosure, I would check my email in the morning before I left. I drove my kids to school. I got done at 8:30. But because I found when I got in the office, if I opened my email first, guess what happened? I was ping pong all over, and I was responding to the email. And so I would tell you to either do it first thing at home so that if there's anything urgent, you can truly address it. But what I found is that when I stopped doing that, because eventually I just said, gosh, that's blowing my morning. It like can put me into, your mood kind of goes that way because you got some person asking you a weird question. And so what I found was instead, I actually started checking my email afterwards, and it was like super refreshing. The weird part is, again, two things, full disclosure, those of you who've seen me speak before know it. Number one is that I actually didn't block my day till noon. I only blocked it till 11:30, but Win by Noon sounded so much better than Win by 11:30. And number two is it rarely took me all the way till 11:30 to get this stuff done. The weirdest part is I was taking 45 to 60 applications a month. Yep, that was the real number, closing 20, 25 deals, up to 30 deals in a month. And it didn't take me more than a couple hours a day of like true focus on my job. And the rest of it was reacting in the afternoon. So what was reacting for me? Meeting with realtors, meeting with clients, talking to my team, chasing down the pay stub, making that appraisal call, whatever it was, because to me, urgent was someone sitting at the title company and their loan wasn't closing, but that didn't really happen very often, maybe twice, 3 times. And typically it was because someone had quit their job, right? That would be urgent. And I would want someone to interrupt me. What I found is that the team members who would interrupt me, like my processor had a question for me, she could have figured that out on her own if I wasn't available. And so the weird part was I also stopped getting interrupted with questions as much from people because they knew I wasn't available and therefore they couldn't get it done. Now, 2 things I think that would be really helpful for you from a scripting perspective and a process perspective. Number one is that I always tell people I was a chicken at first when I did this. I dropped my daughter off at school at 8:30. And it was exactly 8:30. Like I had one of those kids like at 8:29. She's like, okay, Dad, we can go up there now and you can drop me off. I mean, I dropped her off at 8:30. And then I would go either to the burrito place near school or I'd go to one of the 2 coffee places or the 2 restaurants nearby my office. And I would hide out and I would get all these things done first. And then I would go in the office. And then everyone's like, well, what are you doing? Where are you? And then I came into the office instead, which is what I would recommend for all of you, is I explained to them what I was doing and why I was doing it. And they also were starting to see the results, right? They were realizing that, I had this why. My why at the time was to be a $100 million producer. I'd written on my business plan a decade before and I'd never achieved it. And I never achieved it because I didn't have that commitment to being great. I had a commitment to being good. And I was pretty darn good. 400 loans a year was pretty good. Just wasn't $100 million, which is what I said I wanted to do. And so I hid out at first. Then I came in and said, hey guys, they could see the results. I said, hey, I'm going to come in here. I just put a little post-it note on the door that says, do not disturb, which ironically, there's one on there right now. It says, do not disturb, live webinar. And no one will bug me. And even my wife won't bug me. I used to joke, everyone acknowledged it before except for my wife because she's my wife. And so she was allowed to bug me. Everyone else was, didn't bug me. She wouldn't bug me now if I'm on video. So it actually says, I've got 2 signs. One says I'm on video and one just says do not disturb. But you have to make sure that you take the time to do that. And some of you have also maybe heard too, I actually spent 3 months where I actually went to a realtor's office and they lead generated every morning from 9 to noon. So for part of that time, almost 3 months, I was in their office from 9 to noon while they lead generated. So I actually was able to sit there and get it done. That was actually like the best because again, no one was bugging me. Every once in a while, the only bugging I got was, hey, Todd, can you talk to this person who wants to apply for a loan? But I would tell you that the best real estate teams do this. The best mortgage teams do this, typically 2, sometimes 3 hours a day. Real estate seems to be 3. Loan officers seem to be stuck at 2 is kind of what their capacity is. And I would tell you that the best real estate teams here in Phoenix that I worked with, literally didn't matter where you lived in town, whether it was 3 minutes away, 30 minutes away, or an hour away, you drove in and you had to lead generate in the office in person every day. So Monday is all about the numbers. And so let's just real quick dig in onto a day and see what the activities are so that you guys see. So I don't care what day you pick, right? Let's just open it up to any one of the pages, right? So I'm just going to walk you guys through a page from top to bottom, and then I'll flip it over. We'll go through the next page. All right, you ready? Left side is just a visual calendar of today. So I already showed you guys that I'm a visual guy, right? There's my visual calendar right there. And I would tell you, I see people use it 2 ways. Like almost everyone uses like I did. Hey, this is what my day looks like. And I had a realtor tell me recently when I was teaching his team, and he said, oh, guys, I do this differently. And I was kind of like, well, dude, I'm teaching the class. Just kidding. I'm all about other people's ideas. I don't think my way is the only way. In fact, let me real quick tell you one thing I should have told you before. If you're consistently doing the calls that I already mentioned on those daily activity weeks, like if you're like, oh gosh, Todd, I do my annual mortgage reviews, but I just call 3 people a day. Awesome. Keep doing it if you're doing it consistently. If you're like, oh Todd, Tuesdays, I don't update my clients on Tuesdays. I do that on Monday because that's what works for my team. Great. If you're doing it consistently, keep doing it. All I'd say is if you've never done it, try my schedule, right? There's no reason. Or if you're like, oh gosh, I've never done it, but I just think that I'd rather call my clients on Tuesdays and call my updates on Wednesdays, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. I told you the whys. I did it in the way that I did it. I just want you to make sure that you do it. So the left side is just the calendar. The realtor who interrupted me, he actually says, well, I've got my ideal week. That's in my telephone. That's what I'm supposed to do. And he actually tracks what he does on his calendar part of Win by Noon. So his would say, he's supposed to lead generate for 2 hours a day. He also does recruiting. And so he actually writes if something else gets in his way right here, what it is. Top 3 things are done one of a couple ways. For most people, it's what are my top 3 things today? So if you look at mine, it says my webinars are my top things today. Launch, because I'm launching a bunch of programs today, and kicking off the app, which I'm waiting for the Apple Store to approve. So by the time you guys are watching this recording, you're like, oh, I'm already on the app, Todd. It's super cool. And those were my top 3 today. A lot of the productivity gurus would say that's the wrong way to use it. What are my top 3 activities I need to remind myself to do every single day? And I would tell you that when I was a loan officer, that's how I viewed my day. And for me, it was partner consultation, client consultation, and then I kind of bunched the other ones together. I called it business development, lead generation, because that's how that was one of my big roles. All my afternoon meetings were with realtors, developing business with them and making sure that I stayed focused in on that. The gratitude part, I don't think I need to say much about that, but bottom line is there's no one who says that being grateful in the morning is not a good thing. And then if you look here on this one, it says the highs of my day, right? So that's on the other page. That's the bookend to the gratitude, right? That's, oh gosh, what was the high of my day? So like for me, yesterday I was unplugged. We watched movies from when our kids were kids. Like it was so much fun to laugh at what their voices sound like, and to see that actually I was a pretty good parent back then. And then we went and did Escape the Room, and it was fun because my wife and I, we were in a competition against the kids. We've never done it like that. And we were actually pretty smart when the kids weren't getting in our way. And so that was a lot of fun. Those were the highs of my day yesterday. And so just a good way to look at it. And in full disclosure, I don't actually do the highs of my day till the next morning. So in the morning is when I'm actually doing this. So this morning I got up, I set my top 3 for the day. I did my gratitudes for the day. I actually wrote down this, I did the schedule thing here for the whole week, just because I have a busy week for today. And then I wrote down in yesterday's what my highs of my day were. And the reason that I did it that way is I don't want to get on at night and be distracted by work stuff, right? I mean, it just, again, that's how my mind is. You'll also notice on that page, right, there's personal wins and personal commitments over here. And again, these are just things that I know are important outside of business in order for you to be the best business person you can be, and maybe the best human, maybe the best parent, maybe the best spouse, maybe the best coworker, right? Getting sleep is going to be important. Exercise is good. People always ask me, what's on time, Todd? That's the time working on your business. Those are those projects that you need to do. It could be like, oh my gosh, I need to get a new CRM this year. Or, oh my gosh, my company has a new CRM and I don't know how to use it. Or, oh my gosh, my company has an old CRM and I don't know how to use it. You have to block time in your calendar to do those things, right? So when you look at my time this week, I've got no time for that stuff, right? Which is frustrating. Because I'm just doing all these webinars, right? I've got 6 or 7 webinars. I'm launching a lot of stuff. So when am I doing those things? I did it this morning. I did my morning routine at a little before 5 o'clock. I finished up by 5:30, and I was in, plugged in, unfortunately, at that. Not on my email and social media. I was actually plugged into the project that I was working on time. Everything else unplugged and do that. And then what are the habits, right? Morning and evening routine, again, it could be whatever you want. I'm going to put out some content on that later. And then are you tracking a new habit or anything like that? So for me, I'm doing push-ups and sit-ups. And so again, I'm just tracking that I'm doing those things. Now get back to the other page of what these other activities are. Again, I think there's 4 activities that I find that all loan officers do to grow their business. One is they pick up the phone and they dial it. And those are the partner and the lead and client calls. And then this year, you'll see that we added that 3rd blank line. And so some people said, well, I'm a recruiter. I got to recruit. I got to do recruiting calls. I got some people who say, gosh, you know what, Todd, I've had to add in, I'm trying to get new realtors right now. So they put in there that these are prospecting calls. Other people just say, gosh, Todd, I don't need anything but partner and lead and client calls. but I need more than you have. And so we just added the extra line in there because some people actually, believe it or not, make more dials than the 25 that are in the row in a given day, right? So that's possible as well. And realtors actually wanted it because I had the number one request last quarter was for door knocking, but just not enough that I would add that in as a written thing. So that's literally just me picking up the phone and dialing it. Quality conversations is just that. It's a conversation with someone. Now it can be via text, and I would tell you if it was via text, I would have a T next to it and a circle around it because I wanted to see who it was I talked to. Now, some people just put an X there. Not me. I actually write the name of the person I talked to. So you can see out here, I've already talked to on the phone today, Adam, and I talked to Dean. And so I put that on there so I know who I talked to. And so it's just kind of fun when a realtor would ask me, hey, have you talked to, Bob or Jenny lately? I could flip back and I knew when it was. Actually, I knew because my CRM would tell me, but it was faster. I could actually get faster in here. If I knew I talked to him last week, I could flip through and say, oh yeah, I talked to him last Thursday. But ultimately, it's someone I've communicated with. If they're like, no, Todd, I'm really busy. Can I call you later? That's not a quality conversation. But if I'm setting up a meeting with them, telling them about an appraisal, just something where I'm connecting with them over whatever it is. Hey, Happy New Year. How was your New Year's, right? Oh, it was great. Those are quality conversations. And the reason that you do that is I want to know how many people I have to talk to this week in order to get the closed business I want at the end of the year, right? Really, all we're trying to do is go from the beginning, which is making a phone call, to the end, which is a closed transaction. And I would tell you that the best know how many times they have to dial the phone in a week in order to get a closed transaction. Wouldn't that be nice to know? I promise you that you can do that if you choose to buy into the system. Last one's live meetings, right? That's face-to-face. I have some people now who are using video meetings, so they'll hop on Zoom like we're using here, and they'll meet with a client who is too busy to drive across town to meet with them about their most important purchase and say, great, let's just hop on a quick Zoom call. Because again, face to the name, there's a connection piece there. The weirdest thing was, maybe, it wasn't weird, it's just obvious now, is that 100% of my in-process referrals that last year that I did loans, 100% of my in-process referrals, meaning I was doing a loan with somebody and they referred me somebody else for a loan, 100% of those referrals came from people who I had met with face-to-face. Interesting, huh? And I would tell you, I went through different phases of it, but I would tell you right now that you have to be different than the online lender. You have to be different than the lender down the street. They're just talking on the phone and pushing people to do their applications online. I would be taking my applications over the phone, and I would be meeting with people face-to-face or this way. So those are the activities. Again, if you got questions, just throw them in there. Now, below that is a spot for leads. Again, it's not rocket science. It's just, again, this is information on the leads. There's a checkbox there. What's the checkbox for? It's for whatever you want it to be for. We used to say application, so you knew you got their application. For me, you would know when mine got put in my CRM, I just put a big X through it. Then it got into my CRM, because if it didn't exist in my CRM, it didn't happen. But again, it was too slow to go and type in a lead when I was getting it from a realtor. I could just type it right in here. And then down below is where you're going to start adding up those totals as you go through the day. Now, remember, if you've never done it before, you don't know what your normal rhythm is, right? Again, you're trying to figure out is what am I going to do today to impact my closing number at the end of the year? I mean, the fact that I'm teaching to you guys on the 2nd of January, right, for those of you who watch it today live, is significant because you hopefully have a closing goal for the year. I'm in some Facebook groups of loan officers, and people are like, hey, I closed 40 deals this year. I wanted to close 50. I closed 40 deals this year. I wanted to close 50, and I'm going to close 120 this year. Well, think about that. That's meteoric growth. They're going to triple their business. Well, they've got to have a plan for it. And I would tell you this, I would know when I was doing loans what that plan needed to look like. I would know how many people I have to talk to, how many people I have to call, how many people I have to meet with in a given week in order to figure out how to grow my business to that point. And that's what I'm going to encourage you guys to do. But if you've never tracked it before, just start this week, right? You've got 3 days here where you can figure out how many people am I dialing, how many people am I talking to. If you've never done it before, just wish people a Happy New Year and ask what they did, right? Just start today with a different type of business that you're going to grow, and start totaling up these activities at the bottom, right? So you'll see that some of these activities you're not actually going to tally above, they're only down below. So you'll see the questions I get all the time, and this is how I know whether someone's gone through any of the free training. So a couple things to point out is that in the very front page of your planner, it tells you how to get info on the app, which I'm going to shoot out an email later today to get details on that once it gets approved in the App Store. It says to sign up for the free quick start. So some of you have gone through that. I did that a year ago, and it's just drips content. So it gives more of these scripts I talked about for your Wednesday and Thursday calls. It talks about annual mortgage reviews in there. It's going to have some review in there, but it drips the content out over a week so that you get it in kind of bite-sized chunks. And most of it has a video and it's written down below. I'll tell you, we've got written instructions. So if you want the written instructions, you actually got a link to it when you placed your order for Win by Noon. And there was a big gold button that says download the instructions. If you don't have that, just shoot me an email. I'm happy to send those to you. And we have really, really, really great new instructions that are almost done. I'm editing them right now. They're very exciting. They've got cool pictures and stuff. They're right here on my desk, but oh, there they are right there. Check this out. This is really exciting. So you guys, no one's ever seen this before. I'll show it to you, but look at this. They use my flag thing. So check that out. Shiny objects, like that's exciting, but it's super cool. It'll be part of the launch planner, which is the one that's got the instructions built in. So again, if anyone wants those, you can email me and I'll send them to you when they come out. They probably won't be out for another week or two. But happy to get that. But those things are all there. There's also the Win by Noon user mastermind group. So if you want to be part of that, just would love to have you there. Those are the places where you can kind of connect with the group and ask questions. So I always know if someone actually has read any of the content, read the directions, gone through the quick start, because I get all the time people who ask me questions, and no offense if it was any of you, people say to me, hey, Todd, what is a TCA, right? So TCA, for those of you who are not Mortgage Coach users, it's total cost analysis. Everyone asks me, do I own any part of Mortgage Coach? I don't. I just love Dave, and I used Mortgage Coach literally the first day I got in the mortgage business. I love it. So that's why it has TCAs there. HW notes, handwritten notes. And guess what? This one's blank. So you can pick anything else that you want to track. So what am I going to track in mine? I'm going to track push-ups and sit-ups. I did 101 push-ups yesterday, and I did 200 sit-ups. And so there's opportunity for that. It's also got a place to track your annual reviews. Those are your activities. Those are the activities that a champion does to get to the results that you want. And then the results are those things that we talked about. How many leads did I get today? How many applications did I take? How many pre-qualifications did I issue? There's new in process. Now it's funny. I never used that when I did loans. That's, hey, I got a refi going. That's, hey, I got a contract in. It's cool because you can track your fallout rate. So that's kind of fun. We put that in there because it mirrors realtors who track things that are going in escrow, and then close loans, which is where the cash register rings. That's your paycheck. And that's really what you are. That's really what you're looking for. And then again, there's more stuff that you can track there. So we've tried to give you guys the ability to track some of your own things as well as some of what we do. Why do the definitions that I gave you matter? They matter if you're going to start using the app, because the app is going to be a global way for you to compare your numbers, your conversion rates, your totals to other people in the country. And I'm not going to give you a ton of detail on the app right now. It's it's free for the next 90 days through the end of March. It's free. It's in beta test. In the front of your planners, how to get signed up for that. And we have a Facebook group you'll have to be part of to give feedback on it. And the reason it's free, just so you know, is it's about 80% of what I've wanted it to be, and it's late, and I want to get it out there. So I want people to use it and enjoy it, but it'll help you with that. You'll be able to see on the scoreboard in March or April, how am I doing compared to my coworkers in my company or to my team? So I'm super excited about it. It's on my own phone. I would bore you guys and show it to you, but you can see other videos I've done on it. And then the last thing is at the very bottom, which, again, I kind of think is cool, and so do most people. It's, was I proactive today or was I reactive? And did I win? Did I finish my stuff, my priorities before or afternoon? And so let me just kind of put a bow on that, and it's going to be a little bit of, it's going to be a little redundant, okay, is probably the best way to put it, is that what I find is that people who plan their day have better results. And I'm not perfect at it, and I teach it. And so you're not going to be perfect at it. That's okay. Just try to be better today than you were yesterday. And if you get off this call and your processor's banging on your door and you've got to go chase a pay stub, great. That's just life. If the pay stub, though, doesn't need to be in until tomorrow or until this afternoon, I would ask her or him, hey, do you mind calling for me? I've got a commitment I have to do right now. And then be proactive and then do the other things that we're talking about. Spend some time planning this stuff out. Now, my super script was, number one, as I told you about how I hit out and how I put a do not disturb sign on. The other thing you're going to have to learn is this script. It's the number one, the most popular thing of everything I teach, and it's super easy. I don't know who I stole it from. So if it was you, thank you. And my script is I have a commitment at that time. And so when someone says to me, hey, Todd, can you meet me at 10 o'clock on Thursday? I would say, gosh, you know what? Thank you for the invitation. Unfortunately, I can't have a commitment at that time. right? Thank you. Thank you. I like that kind of thing. And so the key there is come up with a comfortable script. I used to say I was assisting a client at that time, or I have an appointment at that time, but I felt disingenuous. If you master that script, I have a commitment at that time, then I believe that you will be able to push most people. Again, it's a push. Sometimes two opportunities, 3 opportunities, and sometimes it's a no, right? I have people still today who ask for my time, and I've had to be okay being a jerk and just saying, gosh, you know what, I can't do that, right? I just don't have time for that. And, but at the same time too, is that you may also at some point want to have other appointments that are really important. It's funny. I pulled this page out of my planner. This is the 2016, right? So this is me living Win by Noon before it was fancy like it is now. And there's 2 funny things on here. Number one is you would see it actually says call block there. And so that's when that's my time block every day. But the funny part is if you look at Thursday, I was on a field trip, and Friday I was teaching to a team. So here I am, I'm the teacher telling you block every morning, and I had 2 days that were not blocked for me to do those activities. And I bring that up as an example. And the reason I tore it out of my planner to show is there was a couple things here I think that were really critical. Number one is that I actually had some names written in here on Tuesday of other things I wanted to make sure I got done at that time. But the most important thing to me here is that the most important thing was my family. My kids came first. I did my field trip first. So again, that's a Thursday where the field trip was only half a day. So I don't know what I did with that block. And there was one of 3 things that happened with that block. Number one is that I moved it to the day before, which I may not have because the field trip ended midday. Number 2 is I may have actually called them that afternoon, and that's less likely because, again, I got back probably from the field trip and I'm running around and answering questions and checking my email, and I probably didn't do it. And then there's always that chance that, I dropped the ball that day and I didn't do it. I don't think so, though, because, again, 2016 did $100 million of production over 500 units. And so you don't do that unless you're really committed to being great for your realtors and making those calls. And so, I would just tell you that schedule those important things first and then schedule everything else around them, but make sure these critical commitments, right? It's a decision. Hey, I'm going to try this, right? Most people in sales struggle with a calendar, right? My favorite quote of 2018 was from a realtor who led a team. And he said, we all got in this business so we could set our own schedule. And that is the exact reason we fail. I mean, think about that, right? We love that part about being a loan officer, right? Unless you're sitting in a branch of some kind of company where you're required to be there every day. Most of us set our own schedules. And that's the exact reason that we're not hitting the potential that we want to hit. And I want you to hit your potential. And I'm telling you, if you blocked your morning until noon and said, I'm going to do those priorities every day before I do anything else, you're going to grow your business. I see your other questions on there. If you guys have questions, keep going. I'll get to them here in just a minute because I'm pushing our time. And so kind of where I want to sum it up, and then I'll give you kind of a quick answer to these questions and sort of tell you what else is going on. Is number one is the annual goals, right? And so the annual goals is hopefully you have one thing, which is how many loans you closed last year. And so I would just, again, decide what does that look like for this year. It's going to be a hard year. If you said, gosh, I closed 50 loans last year and my goal is just to close 50 again, I'd be okay with that. But I would say, gosh, can you squeeze out 60, right? Can you squeeze out 62, maybe just get one more a month, right? I would push it a little bit, right? Remember, a goal has got to be smart, specific, measurable, achievable, time sensitive, realistic. I forgot that one. Relevant, right? It's got to be kind of relevant to what it is that you do. We pre-programmed in there family served closed loans. We pre-programmed their dollar volume because, again, depending where you are, $100 million could be, it might not be your goal, but $100 million could be 500 loans or it could be 100 loans, right? So we put both of those in there. The third one, again, if you don't have to have a third one today, right? I'd like you to have one next quarter. For me, it was oftentimes referral partners. Like, hey, I'm going to go after 3 new referral partners this quarter. That was the one I found had on there most often. Sometimes I see like I'm going to hire an assistant. And of course, the one I see on there the most is I want to make 200 grand this year, right? Income. We put personal goals on there because, again, I think you got to look at the whole body. Like, what is it personally I want to achieve this year? And again, it should be something that's specific. Don't say I want to lose weight. Say I want to lose 10 pounds. In fact, you want to say I'm going to lose 10 pounds by March 31st, right? You want to be more specific. Say, I'm going to lose 10 pounds by March 31st by exercising 4 days a week at noon, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then over the weekend, 1 day. And so personal goals can be whatever they want. I'm a big believer in life planning. Again, look for more content. I'll put out on that later. You can see right there's Daniel Harkavy's book, Living Forward, which is really the way where I've learned that. And I'm crystal clear on what my life looks like for me. It's the number of vacation days this year. I don't know what, I can tell you what's on there. One is 10,000 users of Win by Noon. I want 50 days unplugged this year. So that's that. I want to do a weekly life plan review this year. Every week I'm going to review my life plan, and then I'm going to run a minimum of 4 days a week. So again, whatever's important to you. And then the page that really throws people off with Win by Noon is what I'm going to cover last. And I'm pushing our time limit, so I apologize to those of you who do it, but it's this goals piece right here, the results and all this. So remember, I know that you should know your closed loans. I know that you should be able to look in your loan origination system and see how many applications you took. You may or may not have a folder somewhere or a system that tracks your pre-qualification letters. And you may or may not have put all your leads in your CRM, but you may have access to all that. And if you do, just take your numbers from last year and then use that as your starting point. If you've never tracked activities, skip that today. Don't set those till next week, and basically set it based on the number of calls that you make this week. If you make 10 calls a day this week, so 30 calls for the 3 days you work, then you can maybe set 50 calls as your dial number for next week, right? Just track your stuff and see what you're doing. And remember, if you want a better result than you're getting, you're going to have to increase the time. You're going to have to make that commitment. And I already talked about the personal stuff. The critical relationships is funny. Adam, my right hand in Win by Noon, graphic designer and good friend, he put that in there. And that's like, who do I want to be? Make sure I'm connected to this quarter. It could be a team member, could be a family member, could be your spouse, your kids, whatever that looks like. I can tell you mine always says my spouse, my kids, as a team member too. And then typically some other friend that I want to make sure this quarter I focus on staying in connection with. And then lastly, just projects and milestones. Again, and there's no right answer to this. If those of you who've seen the business planning tool, if you haven't, it's just winbynoon.com/business planning tool. And if you go to Win by Noon, you can see it all over there. But I talk about it having a brain dump somewhere you put your activities. So again, for me this year, you would see in my own, again, you've got this blank space here. You can draw pictures, or you've got this whole idea here. I would just be writing down a list of any shiny objects you see. Where I find we all get distracted is, oh my gosh, look at that cool new Facebook thing I saw. Oh my gosh, I'm going to become an Instagram influencer. Oh my gosh, I just heard Todd talk about annual mortgage reviews. Just start writing that list down and then filter it down. What's most important today? Pick 1 to 3 projects. I would say pick 1 or 2. And start write down what that project is and just write down what the steps are so that you get something move forward this quarter. That's really helping yourself with your on time and being specific. What I found for me was when I got specific about the projects that I wanted to complete, not start. I got a whole drawer down here of projects completed 80%. When I got really specific about the projects I wanted to complete and I wrote down what the steps were, believe it or not, that's when they started getting done. And I also had a folder with all the information in it. So when I sat down and had a few extra minutes, or someone missed the appointment at Starbucks and I was there like, what am I going to do? Rather than open my email or Facebook, I could actually open up that folder and just, whatever it was, whether it's handwritten notes, like I carry handwritten notes at the time when I thought handwritten notes were important to me in my business. And I would write a handwritten note. I mean, just think about what you can do to be more effective in your day. So, couple of things, like I said, so I'm not going anywhere right now. So if you guys have to go, I apologize for running tight. Appreciate you being here. Those of you have more questions, let me kind of run through what's going on with Win by Noon, because I'm getting a lot of questions on the app and the cost and how to find it. And then other programs, people want to know about scripting and all these other things. So first off, I already gave you guys the free stuff that's out there, the quick start, the Facebook user mastermind group, and webinars like this. So make sure you've got that calendar link. It's on our website so you can see what other free webinars are coming up. I'm really committed to doing more webinars in 2019. If you're in a branch or you want to teach to realtors, reach out to me. I'm doing a lot of private stuff like that as well. I forgot to mention the realtor piece, right? I already told you guys I'm teaching realtors after this. I'm seeing so much growth with loan officers who are using Win by Noon with their realtor partners. And we got a lot of title reps using it now as well. Home warranty, wholesale reps, you name it, they're all using it. The app is, like I said, it's in the Apple Store as of today. So if you listen to this on January 2nd, it's in the Apple Store. It should be approved any minute. My phone's rang a couple times since we've been here, so it could be approved now. Now, you won't be able to download it from the Apple Store. You're actually going to have to go to, there's a Win by Noon beta app user group or app beta user group on Facebook. You'll get an email with this in it. So don't, if you sign up on the website, you'll get an email and you have to download the app through a third-party place. I don't exactly know how this all works, but that's what we do while we're in beta testing. And the reason I'm making people go to Facebook for the download is because I want you to be in the Facebook group, because I want your feedback on how to make the app better. What else would you want it to do? Right now, it literally mirrors what the book does. And don't know what I'm going to charge for it when I charge for it, but my goal is to make it cheap, right? I mean, again, it's not going to get rich doing it, but it'll be a monthly subscription. We'll do it where you can buy the app separate, just like you can buy the planner separate, and then we'll do a bundle where you can buy them together. Because the weird part about it is even the people who swear they never use paper, who are all excited so they can use this with their teams, I think we'll end up buying more planners because of it. And I think people using the planner may not need it because they're already using the planner, but it'll be kind of nice to have it add up your numbers and do your conversion rates. The Android version, I think is excuse me, the Android version I think is 2 weeks out. So what happens is once it's done and sent to the Apple Store, which it is, the platform that they build it in shares 80% of the guts with the Android developing platform. And so they have to go through now and do the other 20% of the work. They told me it takes 8 to 10 days. So I said 2 weeks and they didn't respond to my thing because I told them I was going to be telling people about it today, but absolutely committed to have the Android version out. It's just that more people are iPhone users in our world. Sorry, those of you using Androids, but you are important to us as well. Other things that are going up live today, it's not there right now, but there will be a page up. Again, I'll type this later to you guys, but it's going to be winbynoon.info/2019, and it'll list all of this stuff on there because I got people asking me about it. But I'll tell you what else is going to be out there that you're going to have to pay for. So let me just, I'll warn you, this is the commercial part, and then I'll stay around and answer questions. Number one is there's 2 posts ironically today in the group about accountability. And I told you I came off these 2 90-day programs, and the 2 things that people got the most value out of was number one, the accountability of having to turn in their homework every week. So every week they would have to send me their weekly review week ahead action plan out of Win by Noon. And so I'm setting up an accountability group. It's a secret Facebook group called the Loan Officer Think Tank. And in that group, you're going to send in your homework every week. I'm going to be participating in there, sharing, going live in there on Facebook, because the second most valuable thing people found was the Q&A. I did Q&A calls as well in there. And I want to keep doing that. And it's not going to be like, the third Thursday at 2 o'clock or anything like that. They'll be announced 2 weeks in advance, a minimum, and I'll be putting them in there. But I'll be doing a minimum of 1, most likely 2 or 3 Facebook Lives in their week. Also be bringing interviewees in there. I've already got a couple of people that are doing really cool stuff that I'm going to bring them in there live for Q&A with you guys. And so I'm trying to do some cool things. It's going to be a $99 a month community. It's going to be 30 days for free, and it's going to launch Friday. So again, I've already got people signed up for it in my mind because they already know they came out of the other program and they've asked for it. And so I think that will be kind of fun. All right, someone's taking off to meet with a client. Awesome, good for you. Yes, it will be recorded. I'll get you guys the copy of this recording. I'm also taking those 2 programs that I did and I'm turning into a digital product, and that's actually going to launch in a couple of weeks. I'm doing a webinar on all this stuff on Thursday. So again, if you look at, on Friday of this week. So if you're watching the recording, you missed it. If you are watching this live, then it's going to be on Friday where I'll talk through the details of all of this. And I'm putting it as a digital product. You'll also get free membership over the quarter into the $99 group, because that's where I'll do the Q&A. The lessons will be a digital lesson that I taught. I'll launch it live like this, and then the rest of it will be digital each week over the rest of the quarter. And then you will be turning in your homework just like everyone else in the group will be. You'll have that accountability piece, and then you'll get the Q&A part live during that group. So it's going to be a smaller group. I haven't decided what the cap is yet, but I'm going to cap it at some point because I have to figure out if I'm going to truly answer your questions and be involved like I want. I don't want to overcommit myself. And but I'm really excited about it. I've already, like I said, I've already got people who are gung-ho on it. I only created that because of the group, my 90-day group I just finished up. They asked me, how can we keep this accountability going? And if it was free, then people wouldn't do it. It's got to be a cost. And so I think that's sort of the number when we put it out there, everyone came up with. And then the last thing, and then I'll just shut up and answer the rest of your questions, is we're doing another live certification. So some of you may have seen it. We did a live certified instructor program here in Phoenix. We're doing one at the end of February. It's a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I got like rave reviews from everyone who did it. I'm updating the website with testimonials from everyone who was there. But we had a great group of people. They're on there. There's a picture on my personal Facebook page as well as the Win by Noon page. You can always reach out to any of the 20 plus people who were there and ask them for their opinion. Some of the people you will recognize because they're pretty involved in a lot of the mortgage world. But ultimately, it's a 2.5 day course on how to be certified to teach this to other people, because I already mentioned that that's the number one way that people are growing their business. At the first one, we had 3/4 loan officers, 1/4 title reps, and who are using it with their folks. But so far, the feedback was tremendous on it. And the only complaint I got was people said, Todd, you planned in December and they couldn't come. So I think that was pretty cool. Someone's saying, well, I do another course later in the year. Yes, absolutely. So we're going to keep offering these things. So here's sort of this is just how I think, and I'm open for feedback always, is that digital course, I'm going to release it every quarter so I can get a group in there all together so I can answer questions for that group live inside of that environment and keep everyone on track together versus selling it and letting people just start all at random times. Because I want to be able to launch it live and get people going the right way, a little bit deeper dive into Win by Noon, set people up with the scripting. And I'll tell you what that was. Those 2 courses, since someone's asking, one was called OS 2.0, Operating System 2.0. And I said it was just installing your operating system. It was launched out of the fact that I interviewed 50 loan officers who were doing less than 4 units a month consistently. In fact, most of them were doing less than two units a month consistently. And I thought it was going to be towards new loan officers. So I had one loan officer, she closed her first loan in April. She had never closed more than 1 loan a month, and she closed 5 in December, and she's tracking, I think, to do 5 or 6 in January. I mean, like, come on, think about that. That's like, had a couple other people. One person had done 1 loan in September and October, closed 6 in November, 6 in December. We had a lot of people that went from 1 to 6, which was kind of crazy too. But most people, my goal was just getting 1 more loan a month, because that 1 more loan a month would, based on what the average of them told me they made per loan, it was a pretty detailed survey they all filled out. The cost of the program was less than half of their commission on 1 loan. So I figured if I get you 1 loan over 90 days, it was worth it. In fact, you would double your money. And that's what people got who went through the course. Everyone had more relationships and more momentum. That was really the word I was looking for. Like, let's get you some momentum going this year. And ironically, that group was almost 3/4 people who were like veterans, 10, 20, 30 years in the business. Confidence was the word that most people said that they had more confidence coming out of those courses, which was unexpected, but I was super grateful for that. And so it doesn't matter where you are. If you don't feel like you have this operating system that you approach your business with, so we go through scripting in there, we go through literally the lead process all the way through the client for life process and written processes for all of that. Like I mentioned that you have to have a contract launch process. There's just different processes that you wouldn't have ever heard of that I've created that we went through in there and people created for themselves along with their elevator pitch, along with their personal why, went through their CRM and their database. And it was just a fun program. I really enjoyed it. That was the original program I was going to create. And then when I was talking to all these people about what it was they wanted to do to grow, the other part they were missing was referral relationships. So the second course was called Building Referral Relationships. And that one's the one where we did nothing new. It was just they had accountability to it. They had to schedule events. They had to, they didn't have to, but most of them did the book campaign and just different ways that they reached out, and they had to get really serious about processes and their relationships to grow their relationships. And so both of those courses will be available, and they'll come back out, and I'm going to develop new content. I've got a list of other ideas that I've gotten from users of Win by Noon that they would like to turn in, and it'll come out in 2 ways. A lot of it will be free, like the business planning tool. Has been great. It's been great for a couple of reasons. Number one is it's got a whole thing on how to plan. So like where I didn't talk a ton about planning out your day, week, and year, it goes into depth in there in the free online tutorial for that. And there's a real estate agent version of it. And guess what? It's a quarterly business plan. So that way, when you do it now with your realtor for Q1, you have a reason to call her or him and sit down face-to-face and help them plan for Q2. And so, it's been a great tool, for that. I mean, the number of people who've downloaded and said, gosh, Todd, this is the best thing you ever did, and it's free, has been super rewarding. I've got some other free content in there on how to establish relationship with partners. That one's close to done, and I won't lie, my goal was to have it done last week, and it just, I got 14 hours into it, and I just didn't make it a priority to get the rest of this, stuff signed up. Someone's saying that they haven't received the beta link. Okay, so you haven't received it because we haven't sent any of that out yet, primarily because we're waiting on the Apple Store. Once the Apple Store approves it, then we'll have the link. Once we have the link, we're going to post it into the Facebook group. So this afternoon, let me look at won't be till between 2 and 3 today, Mountain Time. Between 2 and 3 today, I'm going to push out an email to all of you, and that email is going to have links to all of this stuff. And the app users will get one. And the biggest thing for you app folks is to make sure that you get, for you app folks is make sure that you get into the Facebook group, Win by Noon app beta group or whatever. There's a link to it in the thread in the Win by Noon user mastermind group. That's the problem with Facebook. There's like way too many groups out there. Also in that email will be a link to the website. It's not live yet, so you could type it in. It's not going to get you anywhere, but the website will be winbynoon.info. So that's the weird one, .info. winbynoon.info/2019. So winbynoon.info / in fact, let me just type it in here. I'll multitask. Let's send this to you guys. winbynoon.info / So this link is not live. It won't be live till some point today. And that link right there will have on it all these things I talked about, have links to everything. So it'll have a link to the calendar. So again, the calendar's free, and it tells you where these things are happening. It'll have, and where I'm speaking to, because if I'm in your town, I'd love to meet up. In fact, if you guys are in Miami, a lot of you have seen I'm speaking at Gary Vee's event in a couple weeks, and we're doing just a meetup, right? And so it's just, again, there's no charge for it. We're just going to host, 2-hour happy hour nearby the stadium. But I've got people who I know who aren't going to the event, but are coming to hang out and get to meet me face to face. And it'll be kind of fun to connect. So the calendar is a great thing there. It'll have a link to the quick start. It'll have a link to the business planning tool. It'll have a link to the websites for each of these other programs. And so let me just remind you guys what they are, because someone is asking me. The training, the operating system training link will be on there. And that will, there's going to be the launch for that's going to be the Tuesday, the 22nd, I think is what it is. It's the day after Martin Luther King Day is the live launch, just so everyone's aware of when it's going to start. And that think tank group, though, will launch this week. And that's a secret group. And that's the one where we'll do the accountability and have the conversations. And again, it's not going to stop me from adding value in the other places. It's just going to be a different level based on feedback and requests from the community. Most people who know me know I'm not a greedy person. I'm just having fun. My why is to help people reach their potential in business and in life, whatever they think it is, whatever you think your potential is. Let me help you figure out how to get there. And again, those of you who don't know me or don't know my backstory, is I spent the last 2.5 years as a coach, and I pulled out of all my one-on-one coaching so I can spend time developing content and doing more of this, because of the fact that I've got obviously 2,500 users of Win by Noon, and I want to 4x that this year. And I can only do it by adding more value. And so as much as I love the one-on-one coaching piece, that had to give, sadly for my clients and friends who I was coaching. And so I'm doing some high-end masterminds and stuff like that. So you guys will see me out there doing some other things, but the rest isn't as scalable. Let me just make sure on here. So any other questions you guys have, I'm happy to answer. There's still 25 of you here, so thank you. And so, my belief is, first off, certainly if you have questions on the planner, because that's why you're all here, is to learn more about the planner. Second off is if you have questions on the app or any of these programs, and again, I know, they're blowing leaves outside my office, never fails. If you have any other questions or suggestions, let me know. I think you guys all know how to find me. It's just todd@winbynoon.com is my email address. And again, most of you know I'm not super plugged into my email all the time. I'm not even super plugged into Facebook. I'm trying to be more, I've actually scheduled social media time right now so I can make sure that I interact a little bit more. And so that's kind of a little bit of a challenge. I look around my office to see what else it is I should be telling you guys, because I have all sorts of, you can't tell, but my desk has all sorts of stuff on it. All right, you guys are getting quiet. You're all still here though. Even after I said that, no one's dropped off. So I really am grateful for that. I mean, when I say it, that I do this because I really do want to help people, it's from the bottom of my heart. I would tell you the certified instructor program, what was most rewarding about that is that those are people who are now going out and teaching it, right? So part of what they had to do in that program was, first was a really deep dive into productivity and Win by Noon. And then the second day was how I present it. So ironically, I did a webinar like this for a group of, I can't remember which that day. It was either loan officers or real estate agents. I think it was realtors that day and one loan officer. And then behind me in these chairs behind me that you guys can't see, I had three of the people who had gone through the certification program that were title reps. And they watched me present. But they'd learned the presentation. So I actually gave done-for-you presentations. So people walked out of there with a couple different presentations with their mug on it, their contact information on it. So they're ready to go teach. Literally, someone went out and taught it the week after the class, which is super cool, right? He taught to a brokerage, and now he's gone in there and taught the brokers. And so it's how to teach it, and then kind of the why behind each slide and what that looks like. And there's different presentations depending on whether you're going to present to a big room or how you want to teach it one-on-one. Because again, a lot of the loan officers I know actually don't want to teach it to a room of 50 realtors. Not even to a mastermind of 10 realtors, they teach it one-on-one. And then the last day is just their data business plan, right? We actually had everyone write their business plan specifically to how they were going to implement this program. And then we actually added on an extra afternoon that wasn't on the last one based on feedback, because the only complaint that they had was they would like more time to sharpen each other's business plan, working one-on-one. And a couple of them wanted the opportunity to be able to present it to a small group themselves so they could actually sit and say, okay, and they could do a presentation. So we built that time in there. So that was super cool. As far as other things, I think the biggest thing will be to check that website when it comes up. And if you have any last minute questions, this would be your time. If not, I'm going to kick you off, because I already said, like, you always have to have something to do when you're gifted time. Like I said, I carried around a folder of my on-time stuff in it. And so if I kick you guys off the phone with like 12 minutes to go because no one has any questions, guess what I'm going to work on? I'm going to work on that website, winbynoon.info/2019, so I can make sure that I get that up and get the email up. So hopefully that was a great benefit to you guys. I would say just a couple last things before I jump off. Number one is, if you want to watch this almost identical presentation for realtors, that's what I'm doing next. So I did always tell loan officers, if you wanted to learn how to teach it to realtors, get on some of the stuff where I'm teaching them. I would tell you though that what I'm about to teach to them is going to be like 95% identical. The one thing I teach differently to them is to do a real estate review. Number one thing I get positive comments on is I have a commitment at that time script. Number two thing I get it on is on having realtors do real estate reviews. And I'll tell you why. Again, I go to an audience and I say, well, awesome. I say, hey, why do your clients go online when they're searching property? And then I shut up, which those of you who know me is kind of hard for me. And I sit there and then they all start shouting out for their value, right? They go there because they view that as value. I go, awesome. I said, how many of you think that value is accurate? Raise your hand. Not one hand goes up. I said, none of you think it's accurate? And I look around the room. Nope. I said, okay, so that's weird. Your clients go there because they think that's where they get an accurate value, but you say it's not accurate. And so I say, how many of you are actually communicating that on a scheduled, right? Have made a decision to make a commitment to follow up with your clients on a scheduled annual, at least annual basis, to tell them what their home is worth, and that website that they're getting value isn't accurate. And guess what? Maybe 2 or 3 raise their hand in a room of 50 or 100. And now I'm starting to see a little bit more, because I've been teaching this, and I teach them to do a real estate review, just like I talked to us about doing a mortgage review. And I tell them do a minimum of a year, semi-annual is better. I actually tell them to do it quarterly. And the reason why is because then their clients will remember them as the home value expert versus the online website. Because I think a lot of you know this, if you've heard me talk before or if you've paid attention to the news, but Zillow piloted here in Phoenix, they're buying homes for cash. So when you get your Zestimate on Zillow, right below it now, it says get a Zillow offer. And it says we pay cash for homes. And guess what? It works. And because I'm friends with the guy who's the Zillow listing agent, and he's training all the other people. They're opening up about every, I forgot what the numbers. It's pretty fast though, a few a month markets right now, and it's only going to gain momentum. So they're coming to your market, and they're coming after your client and your realtor's client by buying their house and cutting you all out of the transaction. Because guess what? They're going to sell the lead from that house. They're going to sell it back to the realtor who didn't get it from their own client. They're going to take the mortgage away from you because they have their own mortgage company, and you need your realtors to be better. And so this is where I think these things come in play. So you can jump on these other calls and you can learn what I'm teaching realtors so that you can teach them one-on-one. Again, that's why I designed the business planning tool. You know, for me, my unique value proposition with my realtors was I helped them plan, and I did quarterly planning. I didn't do annual planning. I did quarterly planning. We always start with an annual plan, but we break it down quarter by quarter. And then I met with my best agents monthly. I met with my not as great of agents just quarterly. In fact, I would meet with my, like, the ones who did like 3 deals a year. I might still meet with them if they wanted a business plan. I would meet with them just once a year, but I checked in with them monthly, right? I told you I called them every month. And then, you know, again, my very best agents, I mean, I was checking in with them weekly. And again, I put out a lot of content on how I see other people using things like the business planning tool and Win by Noon with their realtors. So, all right, I got some thank yous. Thank you guys for being here. I still have 20 of you. I only scared off 5 of you. So I call you guys lurkers who are still here, which I love all the lurkers because I know you have a question you're either afraid to ask or you're just enjoying my rambling. So, so thank you guys for letting me ramble. I appreciate everything. The other webinars, the realtor one is now. Tomorrow there's a business planning one, which you can bring your partner to. So again, if you're like, how do I teach my partner? How do you get them going? Bring your partner to it tomorrow. So you'll print out the business planning tool ahead of time. And then you can sit there. I'm going to teach you guys how to fill it out. So it'll also help you Win by Noon users. That one's almost full though, just for whatever it's worth, unless I spend more money on Zoom. I've got almost 100 people signed up for it. So I just have to debate whether I'm going to, haven't looked to see how much it costs. If it's cheap, I'll up it. And then after that in the afternoon is going to be, I forgot what I called it, like ideas and Q&A. And it's going to be hopefully, because I've got, I think, double what I had signed up for this. What I'm expecting it to be is I'm going to walk back through this idea week because I'm so stuck on the idea week. And then I'm going to, I think it'll be more Q&A and it'll be a little bit more insight into what I'm seeing in the market. And, you know, it's just meant for the experienced users. I'm going to spend the first 20 minutes, probably 15, 20 minutes, giving a little bit of a repeat of what you guys heard, and then we'll jump into everything else. So I'm really appreciative of all you new folks who were here. It's again, it's truly what I live for these days. And let me know if you thought this was valuable. If you didn't think it was valuable, what could be done to have it be better. If you're like, Todd, you should have showed those slides because you were boring and you talked the whole time. I'm okay with that too. And just know that 2019 is going to be a great year, right? If you decide to commit to the ideal week and to getting these things done, I know you can be successful. And let me be a partner in that. Let Win by Noon be a piece of it. And anything I can do to help, just holler. I will talk to you guys all soon.